All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to our first installment of Midway Coaches Corner. It's an in-depth look at the athletic programs here at Midway University, where we hope to shine the spotlight on some of the teams and the athletes and the coaches that make up our department, and let you know out there in Eagle Empire more about what has happened with our teams of late and what lies ahead for some of our programs, as we turn the page into the late fall and winter seasons. Tonight's episode will be pretty basketball heavy, with Coach Foster and myself talking about the start of our seasons and what we have coming up. But we, with our home openers on Wednesday, but we will take a look at a little bit tonight and in the future episodes about some of the other teams and their programs and throughout the year in our future episodes.
Yes, it's going to be an exciting time to talk Eagle Athletics. We also look forward to taking any of your questions. You can send them in, email, text, to any of our upcoming shows, so we want to answer your questions. You can text them to 859-846-5327. That's the text line. Or you can send them to @GoMidwayEagles using the hashtag Coaches Corner, so we will know that you're tuned in and have some things that you'd like to talk about, and we'll discuss your topics as well as what we've seen fit too.
Yeah, again, so that's 859-846-5327 on the text line, and then use the hashtag go to @GoMidwayEagles and use the hashtag Coaches Corner. All right, welcome back to the Midway Coaches Corner. For our first segment tonight, we'd like to welcome Alan Foster, who's starting up the second season at the helm of the women's basketball program here at Midway, and Whitney Evans, the senior guard, who was in her first season as an Eagle. And Coach, how are you this evening?
Doing great.
Whitney?
Good.
Excellent. Just got out of practice, so I'm sure you guys are tired.
A little bit.
So all of our programs, you guys went up to South Bend this past Tuesday to open up your season at IU South Bend on October 29th. Neither of us had a great result there, but tell us a little bit about how that went for your team, Coach.
Well, it was a rough night. We faced probably one of the better teams we faced since I took over here. Felt like they were very athletic, and kind of their pressure defense took us out of some of the things we wanted to do. But I think it was a good learning experience for us, because I do think it's one of the top teams we'll probably face this year. And then as far as a road trip all along, you're always trying to provide some experience, and so I think we took a little day trip over to Notre Dame and had some photo opportunities at Notre Dame with some of the landmarks, and so I think that was probably the best part of the trip, and then we started playing the game, and from there it went downhill.
Yeah, for sure. Whitney, what was your take on the first contest? First time you were out there, you didn't get to participate last year.
It was. I'd rather had a better experience than my first time, but I learned a lot, and it was good to get out there and get back playing basketball again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we caught some of the women's game, obviously, and it was South Bend looked like they shot it really well, and it was pretty long and athletic defensively. I know it's a tough test right out of the gate for sure. Coach, what are some of the positives you took away from that game, or some of the preseason scrimmages and your preseason in general that you've had?
Well, I think probably one of the positives, or trying to turn a negative into a positive, was we've been talking all preseason about trying to play faster, trying to press, and play a little more up-tempo and play a little more pressure defense. And we thought we were working hard, and we thought we were putting some pressure. And then we seen what a team like South Bend could do and realized that we could even turn it up another notch. And so since we've been back, I think our practices have been more intense. And hopefully when we open Wednesday night, we're going to look a little more like South Bend and a little less than like what we did up there.
For that question for both of you, actually, what have you seen early from the group that you just mentioned one of it, but that you need to address so that you can continue to improve in the first part of the season here?
I would say just get better on defense, talking, and then rebounding. Rebounding's a key for us. If we rebound the ball well, I think we'll be pretty good this year.
I think Whitney's right on about the fact that we got to communicate on our defense. If we're going to press people, we got to communicate on matchups and rotations. And so I think that's important. And then rebounding will be a challenge for us all year. We're not the biggest team, and so everybody has to rebound and has to pursue loose basketballs. And those are going to be some things we really have to work on and focus on.
So, obviously not the experience you wanted to start the year on the road, but you do have a homestand coming up here, 3 straight games at home. including the opener on Wednesday night, which is November 6th, for those of you watching out there on delay, but it's November 6th at 5:30 against Simmons College of Louisville here at Marshall Gymnasium. And Coach, talk a little bit about that matchup and what you're looking for out of your team on Wednesday night.
Well, I think we haven't seen them play, so we don't have a lot about a scouting report for them. We played them last year once, and but I think what we're looking for is to see improvement in the things that we've been focused on. Our defensive effort, our defensive pressure needs to be better, and we should see that Wednesday night. And we should communicate, move, and share the basketball. I think we'll get good shots and things like that. So we're looking for probably a more intense effort on the defensive end especially, but in all phases of the game. And, you know, it's the home opener, and we expect a lot of students out, a lot of fans out for the kickoff of the season. And so we hope it'll be exciting, and it'll be a great atmosphere to play in. And that's what we want our home games to be about, is a good time to play and a good place to play, and make it tough for the other team to play here. So we're looking for all those things to come out Thursday night.
What are some things personally you want to improve on in your second outing of the season?
Just turnovers. We don't want to turn the ball over as much as we did down there at South Bend. That really killed us. And then, like you said, just having more intensity on the defensive end from one end of the court to the other, and executing on offense. I think that's important, because that we get in our stuff quick and we run it the right way and get buckets out of it.
Excellent. So you play Wednesday, and then your next the next home matchup is Sunday afternoon against St. Mary's of the Woods, and that's at 3 o'clock, also in Marshall Gymnasium. And I know you played them twice, I believe, last year, so this is kind of a continuation of that series. Talk a little bit about them, not so much per se this year, but about the matchups last year, what you anticipate this year, just about that contest a little bit.
Well, last year we opened up with them here at home. It was my first game as the head coach of Midway, and we were able to get a victory, and a very up-tempo game. And then later in the year we went up to Terre Haute and played them. Didn't probably play as well, but really played well in the fourth quarter and came out with a victory. And so Sunday afternoon will be a very up-tempo game. St. Mary's of the Woods is known for running something called the Grinnell system, where they will play at a very fast pace. They played Kentucky Christian the other day, and I believe Kentucky Christian got 99 shots up. So it will be multiple shots and up-tempo and a very fast game, unlike a lot of other games we play. But it'll be on fast forward is what it'll look like on video. It'll be a very up-tempo game, but they try to press you, and we're going to try to press them back, so it should be a lot of fun, a lot of action.
Excellent. Well, I know we're all excited here that the basketball is starting up, and we're looking forward to having a great first semester as we head into before we head to the River States portion of the schedule, and hopefully we have a number of people here in the gym this week to watch us all play on Wednesday, and then the women's game on Sunday, and should be an exciting week here for Midway. So I appreciate both of you guys coming on, and
thank you.
Yeah, and
we look forward to seeing everybody out to watch us play, and look forward to it.
Yep, and we'll be back talking a little bit more about the men's start of the season right after this.
Okay, for our second segment this evening, we bring in Joe Krupinski, our men's basketball head coach. They're fresh off of a 3-game week. They started up in South Bend and then concluded with 2 games this past week at the Shawnee State Classic in Portsmouth, Ohio. And they'll open up their home schedule this coming Wednesday, November the 6th, versus Simmons of Louisville, Kentucky at 7:30 p.m. at Marshall Gym here on the campus. So with Coach is senior Jason Gammage. Jason's a forward from Riverside, California. His second year as an Eagle. And so we look forward to having both of you here on the show. Thank you for your appearance. And let's talk a little bit about, Coach, tell us a little bit about the start of the season. 3 games, pretty quick.
Yeah, right off the bat, three too many, as it turns out, I think. We went up to South Bend. We'd beaten them here last year, and we knew they had improved, and it was going to be a tough game out of the chute. When it was a pretty even game to the last probably 5 or 6 minutes. We had way too many turnovers. That's something that's been a problem. It wasn't in our scrimmages, and then it kind of bled into that first game. We just kind of gave away a lot of opportunities and some second chance points in the second half. So we were kind of disappointed with that result. I thought South Bend played pretty well, and I think they're going to be a solid team in that league. this year. But really, I think, you know, our expectations for that game were a little higher maybe than what we performed. So that was a little disappointing. It was a long way to go for a tough game like that to start the year. But came back and played at the Shawnee State Classic, and Shawnee State it's one of the better Shawnee State teams that I've seen since I've been in this area for sure. I mean, they're really long and athletic, and they went up tonight and played Miami of Ohio in an exhibition, and were tied at the half. Whoa. And ended up losing by 15, 16 or whatever it was. But they're going to be a really solid team, I think, in the Mid-South. And we had our moments. I think we just kind of succumbed to their length a little bit. We had a tough time finishing and shot the ball really poorly. And we kind of got in a hole, got it back to 10, and then just we were talking to the team tonight just like that. It was 20 again, because they went on a run, and then that was kind of the ball game. So that. A tough test there. We did bounce back the following day. We beat Berkeley College out of New York and had a really good team effort there. So hopefully we can carry that momentum, into the home game here against Simmons on Wednesday.
Well, good. Yeah. I think we saw some of your game against South Bend, and you were right there in the fourth quarter. Things kind of got away, but it looked like the guys were playing hard, and so good that you get that first win against Berkeley under your belt, and hopefully start a winning streak here Wednesday. Get a second one there. So Jason joins us again, as we said, a senior forward from Riverside, California, second year here as an Eagle. And Jason, I understand, recorded his first double-double this season already. 16 points, 13 rebounds in 25 minutes. So that's pretty good production. So that was against Berkeley. Jason, tell us a little bit about how that game was going and why you were so effective.
I just feel like everything was just coming off right, and I was able to grab a lot of rebounds. We were able to run a lot of our plays, and we ran them good and executed. So I ended up getting some pretty easy baskets, and then a lot of defensive plays that transitioned into easy offensive buckets as well. That's pretty much how I ended up in that position. But it won't be the last double-double for sure.
Well, good. We look forward to seeing a lot of those.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yes.
I know Coach would like to see them, the fans would like to see them, and you'd like to get them. So let's keep doing that. I know you've played 3 games so far, and even though the record's 1-2, you've played some good teams. So tell us a little bit about what you think you've learned about the team and what's going to take to be successful the rest of the season. What you've learned from these 3 games.
I think, like Coach said, we have high expectations for us going into the season, and starting off 1-2 is definitely not what we wanted, but I think we learned a lot so far in this first week. So I think we're gonna continue to get better, because I think we have like a high ceiling for our team, and I expect big things. And I think we're gonna get to where we need to be, clean up what we have to clean up, and then we're just gonna take off.
Okay. For both of you, Coach and Jason, what do you think the keys to focus on to do the things Jason's talking about, to take off and reach your ceiling and those type of things?
Yeah, I think it's funny, I'm sure as the coach, as well, at least I have been in my career. You're so focused on the defensive end, and because that's something that you feel like you can control, and or you should be able to control anyway. And so we've talked a lot. We talk a lot about that over. I'm sure Jason's only been here a year now and a half, and he's probably heard that daily about what our defensive effort has to be, and we have to hang our hat on the defensive end and all that. And while that's true, I really feel like to reach that ceiling that he's talking about, our offensive game needs to improve some. I think we still have a lot of possessions that we'd like to have back, I think, when the game ends, and not only with turnovers, but with our there's just our execution, which is true in early season games, I think, but just some of our shot selection needs to improve, and because I have said this a lot, but our league really is an offensive league. A lot of the best teams in our league score in high quantities, and I think Jason mentioned that on Saturday we get a lot of stuff out of transition off of our defense. I mean, I think that's where we're best right now. But when we get into the league, while we got to continue that, when we get into the league and opponents start knowing you better, in these tournaments, people don't, you're just out there playing. But once we start playing teams that are more familiar with us, we're going to have to be able to run our stuff better and execute better and get the ball to people where they need to get it. So for me anyway, I think, I'd like to see us continue to improve maintain what we've had on the defensive end, but really improve our offensive execution. And the good news is usually that does get better as the year goes on.
Right.
So, I feel pretty good about that. I think, actually Coach just mentioned, I think, our effort has been there. It's been there in all 3 games. I feel like we've played pretty hard. I feel like we've tried to follow the game plan in the games, and now we need to execute a little better.
Good. You talk about blending in players and things like that, but you've got a lot of new faces. Jason, this is your senior year, your last go around. You played a lot of college basketball, even though it's only 1 year, and now into your 2nd year here. So tell me a little bit about what do you try to do as an experienced player to help the new guys that are here to kind of get the team on the right track. As a senior, this your last go around, as I said, and so what are some things you're trying to do, as a leader and as a senior in this final season for you?
I think the biggest thing that I realized throughout like my whole basketball career, and that younger players might not realize, is that it's like the little things, like throughout the whole play, like whether it's a play on defense or offense, you can have a good defensive, play defense good for 25 seconds, and then one person's out of place for 2 seconds, and then that's a bucket, So like little things, little communication, all the small things make a big difference. And I just try to be vocal and lead and tell people, the little things are important. So, yeah, set that example.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think we all know that taking care of little things leads to big successes. So, that's good that you've learned that through your career and you can impart that wisdom on some young guys. I know you have a mixture on your team, Coach. New guys, transfers, freshmen, and so yeah, Jason, I think showing that type of leadership, that's very good advice for those people. So we talked a little bit about what's happened so far, and so Simmons is up next Wednesday night, but then I think you have 2 games coming up of your next 3, maybe against nationally ranked D1 opponents. My memory serves me correct, it's a little tougher schedule than you started out with last year, and. So, tell me a little bit about that, Coach. What the thought process and about playing some of these teams and what you hope to gain from this.
Yeah, I think we're still we've become a little more established, but we're still honestly a really young program. All things considered. This is our 4th season. We finally took a step forward and we're competitive in most of our games last year, and I feel like we should continue to do that this year in our conference. I feel like. Everybody's ultimate goal is to make the national tournament, and I feel like to do that, we're going to have to do really well in our league. And if to do well in our league, I feel like we felt like we needed a little bit tougher test early to prepare us for those games because there's really good teams in our league. There's no nights off in our conference. So I think just playing quality opponents. I think. And we tell the players all the time. I don't know if Jason heard this when I recruited him because it was a pretty quick process. But the guys that we talk to, I think if you're a player, you want to play against the best players, and see where you stand. And one of the things we were texting a little bit over the summer, Jason and I, about some stuff. And one of the things he really mentioned was, man, are we playing? And one of his questions was, are we playing Georgetown again? We really want to compete against them. And I think, and they're currently sitting at #1 in the country, defending national champions. And I don't care what level you're at or what conference you play in, or you only get so many opportunities, in your career to play, if any, to play the #1 team in the country.
Right.
And I've been fortunate as a coach to do that once or twice, but a lot of these guys probably haven't. So people go through their whole careers without doing that. So we're going to get a chance, next Tuesday. We're not looking past Simmons. We said that very clearly after the game because they're very, very competitive, and they went over there and played Georgetown really tough actually this past Saturday. So, but in terms of the schedule, I think we just wanted to, we feel like we're much more established now. We feel like we should have a better team, and we might as well go out and find out. So I think, like I said, Simmons is Wednesday. I think they're going to be. We always have a tough time with them. We've played them a couple years now, and it's really not an easy game. So it's going to be, and they have a lot of guys back. So You know, as you hope, that's the home opener. We come out with a lot of energy. But then, yeah, the following week we go to Georgetown and play them, and then we play in their classic against Vanguard, who I think is 15 or 16 in the country right now. So it was also a national tournament team, Division I, I believe, last year. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think if you're a player, those are the games you want to play.
Jason, speak to that a little bit. You know, you as a player, you've played probably like all players. You've played against some really good teams. You've played some teams that maybe haven't been up to the level of competition, and so. Speak a little bit about, as a player's perspective, the challenge of playing people like the #1 team in the country and ranked opponents versus playing some folks that maybe you don't have your best night, but you can still come out with a victory. And as a player, what do you appreciate the most, and those type of things?
I think just the first thing that comes to mind is how I did text Coach, and I wanted to play Georgetown again. We played them last year. We didn't get the win. And I didn't think I played good personally, so like, and they won, they're #1, so like, I really wanted to play them again, and the fact that we are playing them makes me very excited, and I like to think of myself as a good basketball player, so I'm very competitive, so I'm looking forward to it, and I just think that's just, like with any sport, like you just want to play the best, you want to put yourself up against the best and see how good you do. And come out on top.
Well, I agree with that, and that's got to help you get ready for your conference schedule,
Yeah,
playing
yes.
people like that. So that's always a challenge. And you know, I think the great Ric Flair said, to be the best, you got to beat the best, or something along those lines. So you know, it's always good to see how you stack up against the best. So again, the men are at home Wednesday night following the women's game against Simmons. Tip-off is at 7:30. And then they will be playing, maybe not at home, but locally, Georgetown, and then Georgetown's Classic. And you mentioned Vanguard, and they're flying in from California to Kentucky. So
That's it. We're gonna hopefully send them home with 2 L's, hopefully.
Jason, know any people? I know you're from California. That any of your friends or former competitors playing for Vanguard, or have you had a chance to look at the roster yet?
It's close to where I'm from, so like I'm assuming I might know somebody. I haven't looked at the roster yet, but I'm assuming I might know somebody. It's a good chance. So.
Okay, well, good thing, good thing. Well, that wraps up our segment here with men's basketball head coach Joe Krupinski and senior forward Jason Gammage. And again, we hope you come out and check out the men on Wednesday against Simmons College. And then again, also in the area as they play close by Georgetown.
All right, we're back here. This is a segment hopefully we'll be able to do in our future, this week and in our future weeks, to talk about a little bit about what's been happening and what's coming up in the whole athletic department at Midway University. I know we finished up the soccer season today, Coach, is that correct?
I believe so. I believe we had our last 2 soccer matches, men and women, and unfortunately, I believe I heard that we did not come out victorious in either one of those, so I believe that unfortunately ends the soccer season for the men and women. They will not advance to the conference tournament, but I think they had, considering I know the men's team was very young, successful seasons.
Yeah.
The women's team was right there. I think if they'd won today, they would have been in the playoffs perhaps. And I believe I understand they have a record-setting goal scorer, broke the single season record of Reagan Snyder.
Yeah.
So there's been some accomplishments for the programs, even though they haven't moved on, but I believe soccer is through, yes.
Yeah, women's volleyball is in the midst of one of their most successful seasons in recent memory anyways. They are in the playoff hunt in the tournament. They play at Asbury, which is a big match for them. I think they kind of need that one tomorrow night.
I believe so.
Tuesday night, for those, it'll be tonight for those of you watching online. They're over at Asbury on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, and then they wrap up their regular season here at home Friday against Brescia and Saturday at 7, and Saturday against IU Southeast at noon. So those will be, and those teams are both toward the top of our division in volleyball. So those will be really big games for them. We got a couple other things. I know teams in action this weekend, correct?
Yes, I believe the men and women's cross country are at the conference meet up in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And talking to Coach Walls a little bit, I believe they're expecting some young men and women to go up there and run well. And we're anxiously kind of waiting to see how those results come out for the team as well as for some individuals. So I think cross country team is both teams have a big weekend, obviously, conference meet.
Yeah, and then bowling, it's the first year for bowling here at Midway, which has been exciting. I know I'm getting over to the lanes here at some point to watch them. I may work on my 7-10 split. I end up leaving those way too often. But they're up in Ohio for another tournament. They've had a good positive result recently in Louisville, I know, a couple weekends back. We had a few other things this weekend. Wrestling kicked off their season this past weekend, and we had at least one person, I should probably know, but we had one win their weight class, I'm pretty sure.
I did hear that.
And I know, so they're into it, and I think one of the hunt seat team, I think, was in action. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. In the upcoming, as we finish up the semester's gone pretty quick.
Yeah, it seems like there's always a lot going on here. Student athletes competing in all types of sports, and there's always a lot of action. And this is always a busy time of year as your fall sports kind of wind down and the winter sports are kicking off. And as you mentioned, the semester's not far from over, and the finals are right around the corner. So very stressful and busy time of year, but I think the young people will definitely enjoy it, and I know as an employee of the athletic department, there's always news of some good coming from some of our teams, and so we want to keep that trend going.
That's it. Yeah, we've had, it's really been a pretty good fall. Facilities-wise, we're coming along. We get the Hunter Fieldhouse is taking shape. There's some walls up there now, it looks like, and the baseball complex is just about done. They were out there throwing the ball around there recently, so
yes,
the field is done.
A lot of facility upgrades, and as you said, the field house starting to take shape. Looks more like a building now than just a frame. But I'm really impressed with the baseball.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Looks really nice, and I know their guys have been anxious to get out there, and as you said, are out there playing a little catch. But I know they're really going to appreciate it come spring, being able to just go right here and play and not have to travel. So
yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to that too.
Yeah. Well, Coach, unless you got anything else, that about wraps up the first ever Midway Coaches Corner. I think we'd like to thank everybody out there for tuning in, and hopefully you spread the word about Midway Athletics and the show, so we can kind of get a bigger following as we go on. I think we've talked a lot about doing this now we finally came to fruition, and I think our long range goal here is to kind of take it out on the road, so to speak, and maybe get to some establishments and get some crowd participation, some people involved, and that's why we encourage you to send in some questions if we can use them on the show, and just get the community involved, really, because Midway is such a great place. It's a great area. There's some great people here, and I think they will continue to get behind our programs if we bring it out to them as well.
Right. That's our goal. We've talked about this. We've been brainstorming this for a while, and really excited to bring the first show, and want to continue this, and as you said, move it out on the road and get to meet some people and promote Midway. And again, as we said earlier, if you have questions for upcoming shows, you can text them in. Again, that number is 859-846-5327, or you can tweet them to @GoMidwayEagles and use the hashtag Coaches Corner, and we'll answer your questions on our next show. And again, we hope to have this out on the road and meet some people. But this does bring us to the conclusion of our first one.
That's right.
And we want to thank the Hall of Knowledge for sponsoring this first show, and we look forward to the future ones.
Yep, so stay tuned. We'll hopefully, since to all social media, for any future shows, we'll get those scheduled out to you. And either here at Midway, around Woodford County, wherever it is. And we hope to see everybody at Marshall Gym on Wednesday for the men's and women's basketball home opener, 5:30 women, 7:30 men against Simmons.
Thank you all.